Now, our next guest has been teaching her daughter the importance of consent since the day she was born, and it's caused a bit of a debate. Brittany Baxter joins us live from Melbourne. Hello, Brittany. It's so lovely to meet you. I've been following you
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. I've been following you on TikTok. It's so very interesting. Now, you've been teaching your daughter, who's just 1 year old, Sienna, consent from the day she was born. I mean, for people who have never done this, how do you teach a baby consent?
Yeah, so I think it can sound a little bit strange, so I just want to put it into context.
Yeah.
So children, before they can even speak, are observational learners. So that means that they are taking on and internalizing the way that you are with them, the way that you behave with other people, how you're interacting with strangers, and so forth. So my husband and I, before my daughter was born, we just basically got really clear on how we modeled consent in our relationship and how we practiced it and how we did with strangers and how we did with family members. And so that is essentially what I meant by, I guess, teaching her and practicing and modelling consent to her from day dot.
And Sienna, has this come from you just observing other parents, or has this come from, I don't know, childhood when maybe somebody violated you and you thought, oh, I don't want to have to kiss you? Where did this come from in you?
So I have a background in psychology. I have a Bachelor of Psychological Science, and I also used to have my own body image coaching business where topics around consent and bodily autonomy came up a lot. And also prior to giving birth to my daughter, I did a lot of research around different parenting styles and which ones had the best results, and consent and the topic of consent just came up a lot, and that's where I got it from, and when that's why I started practicing it, essentially.
Well, Brittany, you've ruined it for me, because one of the reasons why I've just had a baby is like I can have just enforced cuddles on tap. So now I've got to go home and rethink the whole MO. But how are your family about this when you decided that was the way you wanted to go?
Yeah, I think they may have struggled with it initially, and I kind of get that. I mean, I'm challenging social norms and even potentially beliefs that we have around children and children knowing what they want. But once I explained the importance of it, they really got on board with it, and I think they saw it as an opportunity to help their grandchild and my daughter develop really necessary skills that she is going to need for her entire life.
As an aside, when you put this on TikTok, what was the reaction like? And were you surprised by, A, how quickly it got picked up? And I imagine there was quite some backlash about it as well.
Yeah, so anyone who knows me knows that I tend to speak very loudly to things that I'm passionate about. I used to do that in my business a lot. However, my business was only on Facebook and Instagram. So putting the video on TikTok was a whole different territory for me. I didn't really realize the power that TikTok held. And, you know, one day I was just kind of a nobody, and then the next day I was almost everywhere. So that's been pretty tricky to navigate. But at the same time, I'm grateful that it has happened, because I feel like I'm just another person highlighting the importance of this conversation.
Yeah, it's an important conversation to have, Brittany. I think the one thing when I was reading my notes about it last night that I thought was, I guess, where the tricky thing is, how do you teach boundaries if this is the model? Because if you empower a baby with so much choice, then the kind of things that you need to do on a day-to-day basis, i.e. get them to eat greens, do they, you know...
Give them a bath?
Yeah.
Because that can take ages.
Does she have to consent to everything, or are there certain areas where you go, this is just good for you, and as your mother, I have to do this?
Yeah, so of course, as a mum, I hold really firm boundaries around safety and basic hygiene and food. However, there's a way in which you can approach that with them where it's still modelling respect. So say, for example, nappy changes. I personally don't give my daughter a choice in when I'm going to change her nappy. because that can lead to a whole host of negative health outcomes if she's sitting in a dirty nappy. So I state the boundary. Okay, it's time to change a nappy. But the way that I model respect for that is by talking her through the process of what I'm doing, and also teaching her the correct names for her private parts as well. And I kind of, I guess, relate that to like going to the doctor and them saying to you, okay, I'm going to take your temperature now. I'm going to pop the thermometer in your ear or in your mouth. And so you sort of feel empowered with what they're doing, instead of someone just coming up and sticking a thermometer in your ear and you're sort of just like, whoa, what happened? And that's sort of the same principle that I apply to my daughter around like nappy changes and bath time and all sorts of different things.
Brittany, I don't mean to be flippant about a very important message, but it must take you ages to leave the house.
Absolutely, it does.
I love it. And how is Sienna? What is she like? Is she happy with everything? Is she quite feisty? I mean, if I went in for a cuddle, would she, like, say, Alison, just step back?
Not you.
She might not say it.
Yeah, she's so amazing, and I wish I could show you her. She is so gentle, so affectionate, so kind, but also extremely fiery. So, for example, the other day, my dad was over, and I think he was like playing with her or doing something, and she got to the point where she was like, no, and she just kept saying like, no, Papa, no, Papa, no. So she will definitely let you know when she's had enough of something or she doesn't want to do something. And I just think that's great. I think it's amazing watching her hold her own boundaries.
I think it's so interesting. I think it's kind of like adults, maybe we do need to look at ourselves, and maybe we do need retraining, because, you know, it's not for us to just jump in there and cuddle babies. You know, we should give them consent. You've opened my eyes, Brittany, you really have.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Brittany. Nice talking to you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
You too.